soul for this shithole. We sold our soul for this shithole. We sold our soul for this shithole. We sold our soul for this shithole.
This shithole in question here is West Ham United's London Stadium. To be precise, it's not West Ham's shithole, it's rented. And there we're already in the middle of our story. If you have been a long-time listener, this will sound like a familiar fall theme. Organised fans versus club leadership. In East London, especially. Over concession tickets, over questions of identity. But the largest organised fan group, Hammers United, has refrained there from calling on actual people to resign until now. They have launched a campaign, No More BS, targeted specifically at removing CEO Karen Brady, that's the B, and Chairman David Sullivan, the S, from their offices. And beyond leafleting, black balloons or protest marches before games, Hammers United are for the first time calling for a match boycott as well at West Ham's next home game against Brentford a week from today, Monday 20th. The club is trying to throw out tickets for cheap, and by no means will the whole stadium be empty, but this is a significant shift, and I think British media too is piling on more than they ever have before, with a lot of scrutiny on the chaotic conditions at West Ham since Sullivan took over, and since the move to that London Stadium, awful name by the way, in 2016. So reason enough to hear from Andy Payne again, always a highly entertaining guest. He is the chair of the Fan Advisory Board, an institution that every Premier League club now must have, and the joint secretary of Hammers United, the main protesting organization. What's happening, Andy? How and why? My apologies for the slight delay in the episode launch today. I normally edit these ahead of time, but I was in Michigan vacationing with my daughters the whole weekend and only got back to this Monday morning. Other than that, it's a national team break anyway, so boring. All the more important to hear from a club that would be nothing without its local community. A community that, as they see it, is now engaged in the fight for the soul, maybe the life of their football club. Welcome back, Andy, the third time, which makes you the record-holding visiting professor of football on this little podcast. Thank you for coming back. We have discussed previously what's been going on at West Ham in the fan organizations there. Season tickets is about what we talked last. That was not just a West Ham issue, but crystallized there as well. This time, outright protests, boycotts, and the calls for club leadership to resign. Before we get into the topic in itself, tell us about how long you've been at this, Hammers United, fan advisory work, and what your role right now there is.
I suppose in boxing terminology, this could be the third time on your brilliant show. So if it's amateur boxing, this could be the last round.
This could be the last round.
You know, well, amateur boxing was always 3 rounds, so you win or lose in 3 rounds. But if it's professional boxing, it could go 12, or in the old days, 15. So I don't think this is going to be over for West Ham fans necessarily anytime soon. But there has been a big shift in attitudes. Last season was all about campaigning to restore the price concessions for the young, the old, and the disabled. Frankly, we should never have had to have done that. They should never have been taken away in the first place.
Yeah.
But it was a symptom. It was a symptom of, we now believe the way the club is being run is, frankly, shambolic, amateurish. We've always stayed clear of getting involved in matters on the pitch, you know, in terms of commenting. Mm-hmm. But there's a point at which that has to stop. And that point is now. Last season, this concession campaign would have added around £500,000 to £600,000, so probably €600,000 to €700,000 to the annual revenue at West Ham, which is over £250 million. Okay, close to 290 million euros. And so, teeny weeny bit of extra income, a lot of fuss and effort. Meanwhile, last season, West Ham engaged Julian Lopetegui, who had a very impressive CV to some, If you looked at the CV, as I do in my business, I look at how long people serve in particular jobs. I think you may have raised eyebrows that this guy maybe had a checkered history. Well, he didn't last very long. And so whilst West Ham hired him as a free agent, i.e. he wasn't working, so no compensation, which is something West Ham do a lot of. Mm-hmm. By the time they'd asked him to leave, paid up his contract and the entourage that comes with these managerial guys nowadays, West Ham probably are into £6 or £7 million. Okay, just straight out the door.
And compare that to the minimal price increase through tickets that you just mentioned.
10 times.
Well, then Lopetegui, by the way, for those who don't know, the successor to David Moyes, whose last year or 2 years already, you could hear, style of football, make the next step. Lopetegui comes in, doesn't work out. Then Potter, who is now no more either. But yeah, you pointed to the financial scale of this.
Yeah, the same thing with Potter. He was unoccupied, unemployed, call it what you will, when we got him in to replace Lopetegui. Potter had, for his own fortune, a massive payout from Chelsea, where he was sacked after a short period of time. Huge amount of money that he got paid out, because Chelsea are in this crazy era of 8-9 year contracts for everybody, so they can write off.
And 80-90 players.
Yeah. It's just a completely mad situation. But Potter came to West Ham, hunted down by Karen Brady, our vice chair, lauded by Karen Brady as the solution. Well, a week ago he was sacked. And he was sacked in the usual pretty classless way that West Ham's current owners tend to fire people. I mean, there's nothing good about firing people, but you could at least be professional, decent human beings about it. And I think most West Ham fans, if they care to admit it, would feel sorry for Lopetegui and would feel sorry for Potter, just in the way that they ended up being treated by the club's owners. Lopetegui, his father was, as it turns out, on death's door. He passed away. Lopetegui was, shuttling back to do his job at West Ham while his dad was dying. If that doesn't show you how dedicated and professional he was, nothing will. And Potter, for all of his faults, I think he's a decent human being, like most people are. And at the end of the day, both have been sacked by West Ham. We've now got Nuno Espirito Santo, who's from currently was Nottingham Forest's manager. Another ex-Wolves manager, because Lopetegui had also managed Wolves. He seems like he's going to be a good guy. Who knows? He did a pretty good job at Nottingham Forest. Their fans are now they're in uproar because they've lost him, and they've hired Ange Postecoglou, and it's not working out great for them at this moment.
That's not going well already.
That's not going well at the moment. And the bottom line is, I think at West Ham, is that there's a number of symptoms here, but the common root of the problem is those that in the executive positions.
Which is why you say so far you haven't opined too much on what's happening on the pitch, but the two are. The one is an expression of the other, and the two are interlinked enough to mention it when you make your case.
Yeah. And I think now that, if we look at just the ineptitude and incompetence of this hiring, that goes without any of the signings on the playing staff, any of that stuff. It's to fail once, okay, you get it wrong. To fail twice, just within about a year is just inexcusable at this level. And I think that so the fan advisory board, which is the official engagement body now regulated under UK law for the club to engage with fans. I'm the co-chair of that. The other co-chair.
And Hammers United is the largest group on.
We're the largest group on there. Yeah, but we've personally, I've been very diplomatic and very professional, as I always am, and careful to make sure that we didn't do no ad hominems, really. And I still believe that that's the right way forward. But the fan advisory board, it wasn't my idea. Actually, wrote a letter of no confidence to the shareholding directors of the West Ham United Football Club, one of which is David Sullivan, as he owns 38% of the shares, and the other three significant shareholders. And we simply said, we have no faith in the executives and would like to have a full-time CEO and a new chairman. So we're not calling for David Sullivan to sell the club. We are calling for some better leadership. And I think really that it's shocking, really, but the club then issued a statement in relation to that statement, which is now going to go down in history of West Ham as one of the most comical and tragic statements ever issued, because it talks about how great Graham Potter was and what faith the club have got in him. And literally 10 days later, they've sacked him. And they sacked him in the most undignified way. I think that when the truth comes out, I don't think Graham Potter was prepared to put up with the way he's being treated. Constantly being undermined by sources at the club, usual stuff. Yeah. I think Potter turned around and said, you know what, I'm not going to manage the two games that we've just had against Everton away and Arsenal away. It was deemed they were going to be unwinnable games. It turned out we got 8 points at Everton. And I think Potter was kind of the fall guy, and he just said, I'm just not doing it, so you can sack me now. And that's it. So we won't ever get to the truth. But the bottom line here is that the fan base now is, the apathy's gone. Now people are getting mobilised and energised. There is a bit of anger, and as John Lydon always said, anger can be an energy. We've got to be careful with that stuff, because we've got to keep it peaceful. We've got to keep it legal, and also we've got to keep it humorous, which we're trying to do. We're British, and we try and play everything with a sense of humour. We'll see how that goes, but we are calling for new leadership at the club at the exec level, and if that means that that there has to be a change of ownership, that's fine. But a change of ownership is not easy. It's not cheap. English Premier League clubs are pretty expensive. And West Ham they think is valued at around 800 million to £1 billion, a lot of money. Doesn't own its own ground. One of the big problems we've spoken about in the past is the ground is absolutely not fit for purpose. It's a world-class athletic stadium, and it's a world-class athletic stadium then, and it is now. It is not a world-class football stadium. It's not even a football stadium. Yes. And that is a significant problem. But in terms of value, not owning your own ground, I think in the Premier League, that makes West Ham unique. They don't own their own ground, and they've told everybody it's a fantastic deal because we only pay, £2.8 million a season for the heat, the light, the stadium, and all the security. And it works out about £3 per ticket is what it costs West Ham per game. And they're averaging probably £35 to £40 for a ticket. Mm-hmm. So there's margin there. So we have to ask the question, if it's such a great, fantastic financial deal, surely the time's come to invest some money into the stadium. And even if we don't own that club, the club doesn't own the stadium, it's got a 90-year lease left. It's a long time. Everyone listening to this podcast will be dead by then. Mm-hmm. And so, if you were in a rented house and you had a lease for 90 years, you'd probably start to think about decorating, maybe adding a bedroom or changing something, maybe changing the bathroom or whatever it is you want to do. You wouldn't go, sorry, I don't own this house, I'm not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. So we're pretty pissed off with our owners. This is not this has not happened over a few games, a poor start to the season, even though it has been an incredibly poor start to the season. This has been happening over years.
Yeah.
And last year, we had to spend our time negotiating these bloody concessions back, and wasted loads of time doing that, loads of time that we as volunteers put in to club executives who are paid quite a lot of money to make what seemingly is utterly ridiculous decisions. And you got to think to yourself, when the club officials said, do you lot think you could do better? I think the answer is yes, we probably could.
Well, first of all, I think that question is that's not the right, it's a knee-jerk question. There's a number of reasons why that's not the right one to ask. But by now, the answer might be, yeah, actually. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so we are
the stadium in the past, and West Ham is the shadow of that stadium move from the old ground into the Olympic Stadium follows them. There's the issue with it not being our own, rented. There's the issue with being athletic stadium. There's issues with how it was done. And also what hasn't been done to the stadium and to the area around it since then. That's been long-standing. When we first talked, we harken back to the Paul Colborne protest with the flag on the pitch. Last year was concessions. This year, no more BS.
No more BS.
Brady,
no more Brady
Sullivan. Who's Karen Brady?
So Karen Brady has worked in football for 30 years. She has been the right-hand person of David Sullivan and David Gold. Karen Brady is a UK TV show. She's on The Apprentice. She's one of the key judges on The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure The Apprentice is something that, qualifies you to be a great business brain. I mean, there was a star of The Apprentice, if I'm right. I think he's American. I think he's doing something else at the moment, who seems to be a complete fucking goof at everything he does.
Yeah. The history of CEOs that emerge from that show is interesting. You are right. Both sides of the pond, yeah. Mm-hmm.
She is also a member now of the House of Lords.
She is, which you have to be appointed to.
You're appointed to. That's a big honour.
The upper chamber in the British Parliament.
It is. It's
your Senate, but it's by appointment.
It is. Yeah, it's a legislative chamber, and it is there to kind of scrutinise, but also to kind of sand off the rough edges of some of the legislation, the laws that are being passed by the elected house. So she's in that. Apparently for services to, to business or something. No idea if that's connected with anything to do with the London Stadium or Boris Johnson or Mayors of London. Got no idea. Couldn't possibly comment on that. So she's the kind of vice chair, but she's really the CEO of the business. She makes pretty much all the big decisions alongside David Sullivan. Those two workers are very close, tight double act, and they have worked together. They worked at Birmingham City together before they sold that, and then they've worked for 15 years at West Ham together. So Karen Brady's Lady Brady, Baroness Brady, is the person that we deal with. In my dealings with her, she's always been very professional.
Yeah.
She's got a job to do, so have I. So the thing is, if you've got a £250 million business, which West Ham United is, you would have thought you needed a full-time CEO, a chief executive officer. In my businesses, we don't have any business that's a £250 million business, but anything north of £2, £3, £4 million, we'd have a CEO running it, and that CEO would be responsible with an exec team, because if you don't have full-time people, you don't have full-time business. So we question how West Ham can be run by a part-time chief executive officer.
She's also a newspaper columnist, we forgot to mention.
She is.
Still do that?
She does. She still writes for the Sun newspaper. Yeah. Pretty kind of interesting publication, not very popular on Merseyside, that's for sure. Our friends Everton, Liverpool are somewhat scathing about that publication, with quite rightly so. It was a publication that denigrated the disaster at Hillsborough which the Liverpool fans will never forget, and indeed Nottingham Forest fans, and indeed the other team in Liverpool will stand with their red brothers and sisters. The blue brothers and sisters will stand in solidarity. And yeah, Karen Brady writes for The Sun about football. Sure, she's been in football 30 years. Listen, I've watched football for 50 years. Doesn't qualify me to know much about football. Okay, I haven't worked in football, but I've watched a lot of it. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the qualification is to work in football and somehow be good at it. But maybe I'm being a bit harsh.
Maybe. Maybe. David Sullivan, we should mention as well.
Yeah. So
the third of the bunch, passed away.
He did. He died a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
David Sullivan and David Gold were partners in a pornographic business when porn was linear and was in packaged goods.
Analog.
Yeah, analog, magazines, DVDs, tapes, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, David Sullivan has worked in football as part owner at Birmingham City for 15 years and then 15 years at West Ham. Again, I don't know what qualification he's got to run a football club other than he's the majority shareholder. So he'll tell me and the likes of me, he knows a lot more than we do, possibly. But we have been extraordinarily bad at signing players. Bad because we never seem to sell any of our players, with a couple of exceptions, at a profit. Mm-hmm. The big exception is Declan Rice. He never bought Declan Rice. He came to the club through Tony Carr. He was a 14-year-old at Chelsea. And we have sold Mohamed Kudus 2 years after buying him from Ajax for about £20 million profit, which is very decent, but he was one of our best players. Had a terrible season last year. Why? Fell out with Lopetegui, fell out with Potter. Wanted to leave. He's at one of our big rivals, Tottenham Hotspur now. Yeah, doing pretty well. I wish him the very best. But yeah, I mean, for West Ham, looking at their transfers down the years under David Sullivan's stewardship, it's pretty bloody awful, frankly.
The evidence isn't anecdotal. You add up the numbers and you get there. West Ham is remarkably bad at playing the game that mid-tier, lower-tier clubs need to be somewhat good at to play these days. Identify talent early, develop, sell for a profit. And the oddity of it all is that the Academy of Football, as we call our academy, is ours. And there's a great and storied legacy of West Ham and the youth there. So that, I think, figures.
Well, I think the club under the current ownership, people like Ron Greenwood and John Lyall, two great managers in West Ham's history, will be turning in their graves at the shambles of the way the club is run and the way that we're getting through. We're getting through managers like Prune Juice. It's ridiculous.
When we talked earlier that this activism, these meetings, whatever it is, it's exhausting right now.
Yeah.
What makes it exhausting at this point? And how do we imagine that daily, multiple times a day, probably, that grinding away at stones that are very hard to grind? How's life like for you an advisory board rep now?
Yeah, it's hard work. I can tell you it's hard work. It's a lot more time work than any of us expected it to be. After last season, with the campaign around restoration of concessions, we all generally thought, right, we're in for a season now where we can watch the football and we can see how Graham Potter fares and just see what happens. And unfortunately, we started the season so badly that there is so much repressed anger with the fan base across across the generations, there's so much of it that it didn't take much for that to bubble to the surface super quick. And our jobs as elected fan representatives is to represent fans, and that's unfortunately we don't have much say in that. We've got good leadership, we've got great people, and the beauty is, Philip, that we aren't paid to do this. We're volunteers. That starts to make it a different dynamic. You know, we've got no bosses, we've got no KPIs, we've got no sales figures to worry about. We can just get on with what we think is the right thing to do. We make some good decisions, we make some less good decisions, but we are working across all fronts. And yeah, I mean, look, I think what we're doing is extraordinary, because we have literally, you know, in kind of military tactics terms, we're attacking on about 16 fronts at once, and we're winning. We're definitely winning. The owners are rattled, and they're right to be rattled, because they're, as we just discussed, their record, their track record is there for all to see. You know, it's not anecdotal. It's data. It's counting, right? It's there. This is a results business. Our women's team is doing badly.
Yes.
We lost again 2-0 at home to Aston Villa. Our women's team doesn't play a game in the London Stadium. What's going on? Why? Because they never negotiated it when they did the negotiations. And that's down to Karen Brady, you know, telling us what a great deal it was. Well, the women don't play there.
Women's team is in Dagenham and Redbridge.
Yeah. And
right now, yeah.
And, you know, cynical people will say, yeah, but there's only a few people turn up to watch the women. There would be a lot more who would turn up if it was played against, you know, in the London Stadium, let's say against Arsenal or Chelsea or Tottenham or Manchester United, someone like that. You would get a decent crowd. But yet again, you know, West Ham are arguing about money. You've got to question whether or not they are serious about this. Everything's done on the cheap. And rightly or wrongly, none of us have any idea what comes next, and there will be something coming next. We don't know what's coming, but this is a big person business now, this football league, the Premier League stuff. You can't do it on the cheap. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a strategy. You've got to know what sort of club you're going to be. And, you know, you said it. West Ham are I'll get criticised for this, but they're a sort of top 10 Premier League team, really, is where they should be. Where, you know, the clubs that begin with B, Brentford, Bournemouth and Brighton, have all got identities about what they're doing. They've got pretty grateful fan bases who are not used to necessarily top league year after year. They all play in small grounds comparatively, but they've all made a business out of finding players from all over the world and bringing them through and selling them on if they need to. You know, now Brentford this season, I really hope Brentford don't get caught up in a relegation tussle, but they've sold their 2 strikers. I mean, and Wemo and Wissa are top quality players, gone. And Bournemouth seem to have sold like a whole back 4 for like loads of money and have got a whole new lot in, you know, so these guys are knowing what they're doing. Brentford lost their manager to Tottenham Hotspur, and probably he is the most important person, definitely, at Brentford. So, you know, they've got challenges. And Brighton...
But still, with all of these teams, it strikes me that, at least for Brighton and Brentford, it doesn't seem that everything must fall apart as soon as a coach goes, because there's some idea in place of how these clubs want to play football. That's in keeping with who they are. That's in keeping with their possibilities on the transfer market. For us, at West Ham, my impression is that with every new coach, there's mismatch with the squad, and then give him a transfer window. You spend another transfer window's worth of money on often short-sighted
last-minute
signings.
Stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And half a year later, coach is due for the axe. You start again. So
it's kind of rinse and repeat, and making the same mistake.
Short-sighted.
I mean, look, you know, hard-nosed businessmen that Tony Bloom at Brighton and Matthew Benham at Brentford are. They've got big brains, They've used algorithms. They both could be professional gamblers. Professional gamblers are people who take measured risks time and time again, measured risks. They don't chuck stuff about. And those guys have proved in their different ways that they've got a model for their football club. Now, it may or may not be successful long term. It's looking pretty good at the moment. And what Bournemouth are doing is kind of same thing, but not necessarily, just slightly different. But those clubs have got an identity. And they've got fan bases, as I say, that are really having a good time because they're exceeding their expectations. They buy into what those clubs are doing. They are proper community clubs. They're like West Ham used to be. We've just got people who do not understand the game. They do not understand the modern game. They have no plan. They have no strategy, and they don't understand what West Ham United is. It's so much so that they changed the name to West Ham United London. It's on our badge. We do not need it. And we want that off. We want London off our badge. And who knows whether we will get that. But that is just another symptom of the mismanagement and brand nonsense. To have to put, London on your badge, it just goes to show we are clueless.
And even there, I'm not. Of course, you need to engage yourself in branding and position yourself in the public and even position yourself to people that are not from East London, where the club originates from. But to slap London on the back, it's just, again, short-sightedness, a ham-fisted way of trying to communicate something where you have a hinge. This might go somewhere. And
I think it bleeds into there's no atmosphere in the stadium. The stadium's getting worse. It's harder for West Ham to play there. Mm-hmm. If West Ham do get relegated, there'll be 23.
Oh yeah, that will be fun. Championship teams
at the
London Stadium
coming just to win. They're just going to come and have a great day out and win. They'll be thinking, we can turn West Ham over. I think, look, this is reality. If you go to Anfield, you've got the 12th man. It's called the Cop. You've got supporter bases around the world that play their role at home to be the 12th man. West Ham have got the 12th man doesn't exist. He's not even in the stadium. We're playing at a disadvantage. And I think, I really do think that if
the 12th man is there's at least 4 of them because you can't really hear each other how far the stands are away and on the lower rung was my experience.
Can't see anybody. Yeah, they can't. They need binoculars and they need telescopes. But look, the owners do not understand. I think they think they understand. They believe they understand. They think they're working hard. Sure, all those good things. But at the end of the day, you look at the track record and it stinks.
How do your negotiations look like from day to day without revealing anything that is not supposed to be public? Is there kind of a jour fixe with the club? Is there a constant back and forth of statements that you try to nuance and then see how the other side react? What's the daily life of fan advisory board?
It's challenging because there's quite a lot. There's so many problems that need fixing. It's kind of, where do you start? And you just have to start at the beginning, but you have to start at the beginning of everything all at once. I think someone said to me, what is the point of the fan advisory board? And the answer is simple. Our job is to ask the club the questions in public that fans want asked, and then to give the club every chance to give the answers. If the answers aren't what fans want to hear, fine. Just tell the fans, not what they want to hear. Tell them what you're going to do. And I think that my experience is that the club do not want to be level with the fans. They want to tell them, they want to talk in riddles. They want to talk about careful language, kind of not quite telling you exactly. And listen, us football fans, all of us from every club, there's a whole variety of different people that become football fans. Not every football fan is unintelligent. Quite a lot are intelligent. Quite a lot can write. Quite a lot can read. Quite a lot can speak. And guess what? They're getting more and more informed, and they're leaving some of these clubs in the dust, really. I mean, I look at some of the podcasters at West Ham and I think these smart people, they've got insight and they're not stupid. They can see what's going on. I think our job is to ask the questions in public and then give the club every chance to answer the questions and push them very, very hard. We've got a very big meeting coming up on the 23rd, advisory board meeting, and really it is the 7 questions we've asked in our open statement that we released a few weeks ago. 7 questions that, you know, I delivered with my compadres face to face with Karen Brady and her team. It wasn't an easy thing to do. They're human beings. You know, we're basically saying leave, okay, and that's never easy, but it's business, and our job is to do the best for our compadres, and our compadres are saying we want our club back. You know, sometimes you feel a little bit like a populist politician, you know, and you've got to be careful that you think that you can solve every problem. You can't. There's no guarantee that new owners at West Ham would do any better job. If they do a worse job, I'd be surprised, okay? But, you know, there's no guarantee that who comes next. It most likely to be a US or probably a Middle Eastern. I mean, it's going to be one of those two. Because
Andy just saw me made a face when he said US investor. Historically,
well,
have been the most insensitive about a football club's identity is worth. But I'm not saying there's not any out there that can.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think that, you know, this World Cup coming up in the US, Mexico, and Canada in next year, I think it's going to be already what FIFA are up to with the with the ticketing.
Oh yeah,
it's not going to be cheap. You know, in America,
prices came out as well. Can we just briefly? I'll say the 7 themes that you reflected on. Yeah. A bit of a framework, and then maybe share a little bit with us how you're about to develop these. We're talking now for a reason. Partly, there's a boycott, call for boycott coming up at the Brentford home game. So, professional governance model is point 1 of Hammers United. This is the CEO, the director of football, with some autonomy from the board. Financial strategy that's credible, consistent squad investment, that includes decision-making, which we've talked about. How will the club balance the revenue generation with fan experience, inclusion, and equality? In my mind, this harkens back to the concessions debate, but also to some broader ones about who the club seems to be prioritizing. How tickets are put out, they're sold. Stadium strategy. Where is our heritage? Point 4. This is a tradition legacy question, and I hope the name London in the badge is an issue that kind of falls under this.
Yeah, it does, and actually, do you know what? That's one of the what I would consider. I hate the phrase low-hanging fruit, but it's such an easy situation to improve because West Ham do own precious gold, World Cup winning medals. It's a cliche that English football fans talk about the 1966 World Cup win over Germany. It is a cliche because England have only ever won it once, and plenty of other people have won it many more times. But West Ham provided the captain and the two goal scorers in the game, and most of the young kids now who go to West Ham have never heard of them. Those medals are owned by the club. Where are they? That's just the tip of the iceberg, and that is an easy thing, in my humble opinion, in our opinion, to at least make some improvement, because putting that stuff on public display should be pretty straightforward, and none of us really understand why not. But there is lack of strategic vision. What is the 5-year plan at West Ham? Does anybody?
That was the next point, right? What's the 5-year vision on and off the pitch? We've talked about short-sightedness and strategic planning.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really, what we want is that vision. We want it outlined. We want it then detailed, because if they haven't got it, what are they doing? What's happening here?
Yeah, there shouldn't be a complicated thing to come up with.
I mean, what are we aiming for? Are we aiming for regular European football in the Conference League, maybe, or the Europa League? If we're aiming for something, if we're aiming just to stay in the Premier League, then if that's your vision, tell the fans that's the vision. what are you hiding? And I don't know whether they're unable to have a vision, incompetent to have a vision, or just don't want to say too much in case they fail. Yeah. Remember, this is the club that said moving to the Olympic Stadium was going to be a world-class stadium with a world-class team, and we would not only, be regular Champions League competitors, but we'd also win the Premier League. I mean, no chance whatsoever of West Ham winning the Premier League in my lifetime. Zero chance. As for Champions League, possible to qualify, but there's a lot more competition now, and other clubs like our great rivals Tottenham Hotspur are leaving us for dust. Why? Because they had a vision, they rebuilt their stadium, they own it. It's a colossal testament to commercial capitalism, and they make a lot of money out of it. And it allows them to generate income, which then allows them to go out and buy better players. And if you buy better players, generally speaking, you're going to do better. The media, the media in the UK have kind of finally woken up to what's going on at West Ham. The analysis says, since we moved to the Olympic Stadium, our net position in the Premier League has gone from 12th at Upton Park, an average, to 11th. So a whole one place.
No, not exactly world class. No, not
really world class.
If a imaginary club response is, all right, next 5 years, if we stay in the Premier League, we're good, and we'll chuck all the money we have into making the stadium truly our own.
Yeah.
Would you be up for it?
Yeah, I think so. I think
we won't promise you Europe. We won't promise you fancy stuff. Squad will be younger.
If we were to see that stadium take the stadium at Manchester City, when they first moved there from Main Road, there was huge resistance. It was the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, with an athletic stadium too.
So very similar to what we've got. Yeah. But over the years, they've put money into it. It's a much better stadium now than it was and ever has been. There's still Manchester City fans who probably think it's nowhere near as good as Main Road. But listen, football's different nowadays. So it is possible to do this stuff. If there's a will, but with West Ham, they blame the owners and say the owners don't let them do it. The owners blame West Ham and say West Ham don't want to pay for it. We just got to get to the core of this. Who is stopping us from improving that stadium? Because we're not going to be moving out of that stadium anytime soon. None of us believe we're going to do that. So we're going to have to make it better. And that's not about painting stuff or having tifos or, some bloke with a drum. It's like, this is real stuff. Where is the safe railed seating that every other club seems to have?
That was long promised. We were supposed to be pioneer. Like, we were supposed to be a testing stadium for this.
Totally. Where is that stuff? Why are the seats so far away? Yes, there's a deal with athletics. Well, fix the bloody deal with athletics. Do something about it. Instead, every season, same as it ever was, nothing changes. The only time they change it is to squeeze you up, to get a few more seats in.
Yeah, so, or to build a wall.
Yeah, the wall.
The literal wall.
The wall.
The way section.
Yeah. Goes back to that apprenticeship, the apprentice again, doesn't it? Build a wall. It's back to him.
Okay. Yeah. You're forcing the parallels. The last two of the 7 points were structural change to ensure supporter input and the long-term footballing vision for recruitment, youth development. We'll also refer to that a little bit. How do you plan to get there and at least get some of these questions answered satisfactorily? Black balloons are back.
Yeah, black balloons are back.
are back. And the Brentford game protest, last home game protest march. How have you seen the response?
Yeah, good.
The rallying. When you were founded, it was one group among many, and people were wondering, well, is this just the next protest, the next iteration of a protest group? I think Hammers United has proven itself to be something much more bigger and more sustainable than that. How do you see buy-in from others on the fan?
Pretty good. The protest for the Crystal Palace game, by independent counts, was over 4,000 people assembled at the gates. That's a lot of people. 2 marches from different places. It was quite impressive. It's a great start. And the atmosphere was very, very good. Particularly pleasing was that some of the guys cleared up the rubbish, which I thought was very Japanese, but fantastic. You know,
Very
that's
cool.
like, yeah, very cool. And I think West Ham fans can be very proud of it. No arrests, no nonsense, no nothing. The next piece is the Brentford boycott. So we're asking people if they own season tickets not to go to the game. We'll see what happens. You know, it's a difficult one because people have paid money, hard money, in tough times to watch their team. So we don't want to force anybody to do anything. So that's a boycott. We shall see what happens. It's on the television. So, you know, spaces will be obvious. Then we've got a sit-in against Newcastle, which is on a Sunday at 2 p.m. So a terrible time to have football, but we're encouraging a sit-in there. And we believe fans will do that in all parts of the ground. So we shall see. And then the following week, rather aptly, we are playing Burnley at home. And that is when we're planning a big march. We're hoping to get 10,000 on the streets peacefully and coordinated fashion. It was Burnley where this all started.
I was going to say there was something at a Burnley home game once. Yeah,
we did, and that was where Paul Colborne decided that he was just going to go on the pitch in a peaceful way, take the corner flag. Very much on the spur of the moment, took the corner flag, put it in the middle of the flag.
But he was hearkening back to earlier protests.
He was.
And there's a story there. Yeah.
Yeah. And he also he's currently banned for life for West Ham for walking on the pitch with that with that corner flag. That was against Burnley. We lost 3-0 that day. And things got pretty dark. I don't think we'll be losing 3-0 to Burnley this time round. You never know. I hope not. So that we've got that planned. Away games will be black balloons and banners into each game. We found that on Saturday against Arsenal that the Arsenal stewards had been told to get the black balloons burst or taken off fans and not allow banners in. We believe we know that Arsenal introduced black balloons on the day as a prohibited item. So they've obviously got tipped off by West Ham. Who knows, maybe West Ham asked them to stop it. All it does is it just makes our fans even more determined. You know, there was still plenty of
black balloons.
Yeah, there was loads of them, but it just makes fans more determined when you try to ban things with this kind of stuff. So we've got that all planned, and we shall see what happens. We've got a fairly big social media set of campaigns going, and it's crazy because there's so many people who are working with Hammers United, for Hammers United, alongside Hammers United. I mean, it's just West Ham fans everywhere doing stuff. You know, some are still saying GSB out, you know, even though goal's dead. Some are saying like we would, you know, no more BS. And that is with the backdrop of the other clubs and the Stop Exploiting Loyalty campaign, which is not going away with the Football Supporters Association. That's all. Another season campaign is we're just putting the finishing touches to that being announced, and we work very closely with Liverpool and Everton, very closely with Manchester City and Manchester United and Tottenham and others. You know, and so like there's a load going on. I think that people are dissatisfied with the way that football is being, you know, turned into this kind of this money fest, and we see the price of everything of football just going through the roof. It's long since been, at the Premier League level, it's no longer the working class game. It's just too expensive for a lot of people. It's a great shame. But we are, you know, at the FSA, we're working on the community aspect because we really feel that's so important to all football fans. It's like, why do you go to football? Not usually to watch the football. You go with your friends, have a drink, have a laugh, meet up with people you may never meet again in the other part of your life. To sit and stand with people and have an entertaining day. And it's getting harder. So all of that stuff says that we're not going to be stepping down and stepping away from this. But we will be asking West Ham, so are you going to appoint a full-time CEO? Yes or no? Are you going to get an autonomous director of football? Yes or no? If no, why not? If yes, when and who? Let's understand this PSR, profit and sustainability, rules that are currently in Premiership football. We've been told by the owner of the club, or the majority owner, that the biggest shareholder, I should say, that we can't afford anything. We've run out headroom. Well, it's either incompetence or they're lying. So we need to understand, is that the case? Because we don't believe it is. Every independent expert that we talk to, financial expert, says West Ham have got plenty of headroom. The stadium roadmap for real change, again, enough of the banners and the flags and the kind of DJ at half time. All that, fuck off. We want actual physical changes in that stadium that are meaningful. Where is our heritage? Why isn't it on show? Why can't people see it? Should be easy. Where, the fan engagement. Yeah, that we've got a fan engagement of sorts. Beginning of the season, there was a ad hoc announcement, well, no notice whatsoever, that suddenly anyone who had a concession, that remember they had been taken away, they had to prove their identity digitally within 7 days. And there was no engagement about that whatsoever. So somebody forget to engage with the fan advisory report? Who knows? But that was just a clusterfuck of a announcement. And it caused a lot of our supporters a lot of stress, completely and utterly sort of avoidable, frankly. And
mark this explicit again for the Americans.
What's that?
Now I have to mark this explicit again for the Americans.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I'm trying not to be too explicit.
Right. When you ask those questions and you get answers, by the way, fully understood. Yes, agree with your diagnosis. But when these conversations happen, how much at this point happens in public? How much do you want to happen in public? And have you found media more sympathetic to your cause than in the past? Because the easy refrain was always, well, West Ham are doing bad on the pitch, so the fans are protesting, kind of spoiled children type argument. It has got to have gotten through by now that this is about more than that, has it? Are you happier with media coverage and with public pressure outside of fan groups?
Yeah, without doubt. So-called, I'm careful about using things like mainstream media, but older media, newspapers.
Legacy media is what
I guess. Established, respected media. A lot of very positive coverage, because I think they can see for themselves what's going on. I think it's finally the penny has dropped. Look, results on the pitch make a big difference. I don't think they're going to make this campaign go away. Not unless we win every single game for the rest of the season and be, challenging for the title. I just don't see it. I think people are very, 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 very disappointed, and that's putting it easily, with where this club is just meandering. It's like a supermarket trolley that's got a busted wheel. It's absolutely not fit for purpose.
This is a good analogy. I'll use that.
Yeah, it's
make my kids understand as well what is going on. Yeah. I mean, they saw West Ham with me in Chicago when the America tour was on this August, and loved realizing that this is a big thing. It's not just their dad who goes. And we were all. They thought this was going to be a great season. We looked so good, beat Everton.
We did.
Here we are. Good analogy. Do you see the same ferment bubbling up elsewhere as well? You're a well-connected guy.
Yeah, I think there is. I think
you're not alone.
No, we're not alone, and I think there's concern even amongst the biggest football clubs, the fans of the biggest football clubs. There's a big concern about the community aspect, and it's very. I mean, we've had this discussion before. I don't like pejorative discussions around tourists. Okay, we've all been, we're tourists ourselves. I mean, I'm hoping to go to German football next March to watch a game with friends. I'll be a tourist.
Where are you going?
It's a good question. We want to go to my friends. We always wanted to visit Colditz Castle. And I think it means that we're going to end up going to bloody RB Leipzig, which is the most hated German team. So we understand.
Don't do Bundesliga. You go to Dynamo Dresden, third league or something like that.
Yeah,
no.
We might do that. Yeah, we might do that. I might take up offline. I'll ask you for some recommendations. But look, I don't like it when fellow fans talk about tourists. I think it's dangerous. I think it becomes toxic. But the culture of football is a very good sports commentator in Britain said, look, he nailed it. He said, look, if I go to watch an NFL game or something, or I go to an NBA game, I don't want to go and sit next to someone like me. I want to sit next to people who actually are real fans. And I think we've got to be very careful. Our issue at West Ham is currently that stadium is only not fit for purpose. It's just too big for West Ham. And therefore we're having to fit it with other people. That's never going to end well. Arsenal have no problem filling their stadium. Chelsea, no problem. Because Chelsea have got a small stadium for their size of their club.
Oh, yeah.
And Arsenal have got plenty of people who are prepared to want to go and watch Arsenal. We've got a very affluent fan base. West Ham, slightly different. So, I think there is growing concern amongst other fans, not just of a particular age. It is going through football that it's becoming too expensive, and it's all becoming a bit prescribed. We don't. In England, as you know, we don't care too much when people start talking about tifos and ultras. That's not our culture, right? We don't do that. And we don't generally dress in club colours. That's another thing that people don't understand about English football fans. There's always been a tradition of you don't have to do that. So, look, it's a bit mixed up. It's a modern game, but every football club should be engaging with their fan base, monetizing their fan base, because that fan base wants to give money. So it wants to spend money at the football club. It's in love with the football club. It trusts the owners. It's behind the players, and it's the 12th man. And if owners cannot see the gold beneath their feet, then they're fools. Because, they just don't understand that if you get the fan base right, everything else falls into place. The players love it. And I think our players do not like playing at London Stadium. I think they're scared to play.
This is a sensitive team. In many ways. I think we have kind of a bit of a sensitive group.
Yeah, and I think, look, when we play away, I went to Everton the other night, magnificent new stadium.
Yep.
Boy, is that a demonstration of a club similar to us, I would have said, who have managed to build a fantastic stadium in the city. Okay, it's not in Everton anymore, but hey-ho, it's in the city. It is truly fantastic. And, I think Everton fans, they got a last-minute winner yesterday, big game for them, Palace. I think Everton fans, like all fans when they move, it's going to take a while to know who you're sitting with, the disruption, when to sing, when not to stand, blah, 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 blah. But over time, that will figure itself out. And I think that'll be a very hard place to go to in a couple of years' time, because it will. The traditions don't move from a place like Goodison Park to the Bramley Moor Stadium. They don't move wholesale. It's not you're not overlaying it. Yes, many of the fans will be the same, but they're in different places in an odd environment that's very new. So it takes time.
But it can up there. This can grow roots. We're now long enough in to know.
Yeah.
There's issues that time alone won't cure, and that success on the pitch won't cure either, because we have had a Conference League win in this new stadium. And
we won the Cup Winners' Cup playing at Upton Park. Okay, we won the FA Cup 3 times playing at Upton Park.
That alone is not that's not what we're waiting for here.
No, and also this is not. Like it's not magic. It's like if you don't change things don't change. And I don't know if our football club owners understand that. You have to do something. You can't just go, I'm sure it'll get better, because it's 9 years in now. It's not any better.
Yep.
It's actually worse.
Yep.
Nothing's improved. So, we do need change, but we need change at the top.
Do you sometimes look jealously to Germany or to countries where there's structures in place that ensure we can't just talk about the owners the way we just did the last hour, but that the club has to involve some majority control from fans in some legal version? But is that something that's on the horizon for you at all, or it's just this is a world away? And
I think that whether English football fans will care to admit it, I certainly will admit it. The Germans get it right. They get it so right, and it shows. The football is still affordable, and it's part of a family. Fathers and sons and uncles and aunts and mothers and daughters. It's a real thing. Grandfathers and grandsons. That's not the case in England now. It's got too expensive, and I think that the chance of fans owning a part of a club, I think, are all but gone in this globalized American Arab sort of axis. I think that we have sold our national assets off, in football, in water, in railways, in airlines, in everything in Britain. And the Germans less so. Okay. And I respect how the Germans go about it, and certainly their football culture, is magnificent. So hats off to my German friends, because I think they've got good principles.
What should we look for next in terms of news? Timeline out of East London on this. Do we expect any news before Christmas?
Yeah, I think we'll see. Where are we now? We're in
early October.
Early part of October. So I think this just grows and grows, and eventually it will either fizzle out, doubtful, or expand, and eventually those individuals in charge at West Ham will have to make a decision about what they're going to do, whether they're going to dig in. But they're going to be up against tens of thousands of fans who are just going to get more and more creative about calling them out for the incredibly bad decisions that they have made. And we're happy to call them out for good decisions. It'll be a very short call out. It'll be like, oh, it's finished. Okay? Because we don't know what good decisions they have made. We're desperate to see some good decisions. There haven't been any. There really haven't been any. We'll sell Paquetá probably in January or in the summer. We'll probably sell Jared Bowen. It's just nonsense. And I hope under Nuno that we see our academy players, our younger players play football. They seem to do well at Arsenal and Chelsea when they get played.
Yeah, no, that's my hope too. And often crisis times in a club are times when such players.
But we are Hammers United, and all the fan groups are going to make sure that the players don't suffer. We're behind the players. We're behind the manager. We're just not behind the people who apparently run the club in senior leadership. We're not behind them. We're against them. It's very simple. But we will not take it out on the players. In fact, we will double our support for players. Yes, we've asked for a boycott against Brentford. That's controversial. But that's what we've decided. That's what members voted for. That's what we're going to do. And we'll see how that goes. But we've got variety and choice available. And at no time will we ever judge fellow fans for doing what they want to do. If they want to watch the game, that's up to them. That's their right. So we don't want any of that nonsense and won't have any of that talk. This is a united we stand, divided we fall. And we've been divided in the past by the owners, and they're trying every trick to divide us. Ain't going to work this time. We're here now to the last cartridge.
Even for the Brentford game, there have been these attempts with tickets.
Yeah, well, you look at it, Brentford. So they've made that kids for £1. So your listeners, that's where children under 16 get £1, get in for £1. These are the same children they were trying to take the concessions off last season. Yeah. They're now dropping the prices. So you're a season ticket holder. You've paid like maybe £40 for your ticket. And the person sitting next to you might have paid 15. So what exactly is going on here? You know, you're so desperate to beat the boycott, you're trying to give tickets away. And in doing that,
Pretty much.
you're pissing off the actual people that pay in advance to watch their football team. I mean, it's just, I don't know what business school these people went to, but it must have been a circus. Not a very good one.
And support the team, not the regime, has been the slogan all along, and that is still there. And thank you for making that clear too. All right,
good.
How do you find refreshment these days? How do you shut your mind off from Karen Brady living in there?
No, she doesn't. I think it might be the other way around. I said earlier, we don't work for anybody. We don't get paid. Sometimes that's pretty liberating because you kind of do what is right, not what is for the money. So we don't need any of that. We're doing the right thing. Paul Colborne, as a brilliant leader, he works morning, noon, and night. That guy, and Andy McConnell, and many others are just doing it for the love. And when you get people doing it for the love, it's much easier.
And can't speak for anybody else, but to know that there's people like you engaged in this club and not giving up makes it. That's the kind of stuff that still keeps me at West Ham, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, if we all had given up by now, I wouldn't go to just the shell of a brand against other shell of a brand. It's the people that keeps me.
You're right, and we ain't giving up. We're not having it. We will be there longer than those owners. You can have my word, and thousands of West Ham fans will be there after those owners are gone, and we'll hopefully help new owners, because there will be new owners, to understand what they own and to respect it, and to get the 12th man properly engaged, so that those footballers realise they've joined a special club. I don't think they've realised that for many years now, because it's not the same. It's badly run, and it shows. If our women's team were top of the league, maybe we're doing something wrong. They're both bad teams. They're both badly run from top to bottom. So, a fish rots from the head, we always say.
And thank you for bringing the women's team in as well. Important in my family. This is my oldest daughter gets her phone alerts on the West Ham women's team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's absolutely.
Imagine being one of the women's team players who's come from abroad, and you think, I'm going to play in the Olympic Stadium. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm never going to play in the Olympics. Why is this? It doesn't happen anywhere else. So just imagine that. It's fancy. So anyway, there you go.
Amidst all this and all the stress and the tiredness, thank you for not giving up.
No.
Thank you for taking time to talk. And
always for you.
This year, the plans are bigger than the two previous ones that we've talked before, and the questions on the table are admittedly very fundamental now. And I think it's time to ask them. It's time to ask.
Yeah, and we want to be clear. We want answers. We don't want bullshit. No more BS.
Very good. Andy, hang in there.
We will. Don't you worry. We won't be giving up. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. You're always good to talk to.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, man.
He's so good.